Thumbnails are like the face of your YouTube channel. They are the face of your video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 10 aspects that you need to consider when designing a thumbnail for your YouTube video. Without further ado, let's dive right in. So the very first one is visual appeal. Now I'm going to talk about this in two categories. The first one being the image resolution, because after you've uploaded a high resolution image to YouTube, there is a compression that takes place. But when you upload a lower resolution image, YouTube is even going to crush that more, and you're going to end up with a very terrible looking image. That is why in my case, I usually upload PNG files. Now PNG files are simply high resolution files, and most times, much as they may get compressed, the compression is not that bad. You still kind of retain the quality in that image. So my recommendation is don't upload JPEG, but upload PNG files. In fact, those files are usually big in size, and when I try to upload them to my YouTube video using my computer, most times YouTube will tell me that the file is too large. Of course, you would think of, I'm going to compress this image, I'm going to get like some compression software or some compression website and go on there and compress the image so that it's smaller and then upload it to YouTube. But what you've already done there is you're crushing out the quality in this image. So stick around for a tip that I'm going to give you that works 100% of the time. Visual appeal also takes on the form of color, not just about high resolution, but color too does a lot when it comes to visual appeal. For example, looking at a black and white image is not really visually appealing. When you look at some of the thumbnails on MrBeast's videos, most of the thumbnails are visually appealing in a sense that they are using a lot of high contrasty colors, very bright and appealing colors. Most of them are red, green, sometimes yellow and blue colors. Those are the colors you want to always use in your image in order to make it visually appealing. One time I tested a video of mine using just a white thumbnail, and the video didn't do well, but when I switched up the thumbnail to something more colorful, the video began getting a little bit more views than before. Now talking about colors have different emotions that they convey. For example, yellow or orange usually is a very happy color, so that invokes happy emotions and it tells the viewer that this video that they're about to watch is a happy video. So you can use that in your images if your video is about happiness. Make sure that you have those bright colors such as orange and yellow. And also looking at the colors of red can mean love. Who does not want to be loved? Red can also mean danger. For example, if the video is about something that went bad, something dangerous, you can use the color red. So having red in your image will make the thumbnail more appealing to the viewer. I don't want to talk much about colors. That will be a topic for another day. But yes, colors play a big role in thumbnail creation. So if you want to make a bold statement about your video, just make sure you use bold colors. Use green, red, blue, and sometimes yellow or orange. Those colors, most of the time, like at least 90% of the time, stand out. The second item is about clarity. Now, clarity is just making things more clear. If you have a thumbnail that is not clear, it's cluttered with a lot of things. Have you guys seen thumbnails like this? I have a problem with the thumbnails. I've seen some of those videos actually doing so well. People that create videos and have thumbnails such as that one there, I've seen them getting a lot of views. But in my own opinion, I don't think that really is a very good thumbnail for you to use on a YouTube video. Those thumbnails are usually cluttered. There is a lot going on in the thumbnail, and the viewer does not know where to focus their attention. Like our eyes are just moving up and about looking at the thumbnail and do not know what exactly to focus on. By increasing on the clarity in your thumbnail, you'll increase the viewer's likelihood to click on the video because you are directing the viewer's attention to one particular item that you want them to concentrate on, and they are able to interpret that right away. Because if there is clutter on your thumbnail, there is, for example, you have a picture of a plane, you have a picture of a bag, luggage, the airport, like you have so much going on in your thumbnail, that is not a good idea. Like I said, I've seen some of those videos do well. Probably is because of a creator that is already known by their subscribers or viewers. So when they see the thumbnail, they'll definitely just click because they know the creator, or like when the video plays for like the first few seconds, then they're likely to click on that. But a cluttered thumbnail is not a good idea. So just make sure that you have a clear image. Most times I would recommend have a close-up shot. If you're using your face in the thumbnail, just take a close-up shot of yourself and add that to your thumbnail. I would recommend a ratio of about 1280 by 720. I think that should be good. Then you can expand that on a canvas of 16 by 9 in your photo editing software or app. Don't clutter your thumbnail with a lot of wording, with a lot of images. You just need one simple item and the viewer's attention has to be drawn to that. The third one is going to be about contrast and brightness. Now, when I was starting the video, I talked about a little bit of contrast in the very first point that I gave. First of all, contrast itself is that separation of bright from dark. So when you have good contrast in your image, it means that your highlights are well separated from your dark or your shadows. If you happen to use one of the thumbnails that YouTube generates, if you like the thumbnail that YouTube has generated for you, then you need to bring the thumbnail into your editing software and work on it. Don't just allow YouTube to design a thumbnail for you or choose a thumbnail for you and use that as a thumbnail for your video. You need to put in some extra work, show some extra effort when you're making a thumbnail. You can actually go to your Creator Studio app and download that image and do some little work on that image. Talking about brightness, when you have a thumbnail, you need to make sure that the thumbnail is bright enough for people to see. You know, our eyes see because of light. If the image is dark, then we are not going to be able to see what exactly the thumbnail is about and what the video is about anyways. So you need to make sure that the thumbnail is bright enough, not too bright that you have your highlights clipping, but you need to have a very good level of brightness that is not harsh. Make sure that everything that is bright is seen and there is detail in your highlights. So when you have shadows, just make sure that you have detail in those shadows. Don't crush them to the point that there is no detail in the shadows. You need to have a very sweet balance when using contrast. Contrast can take different forms. It can be contrast of colors, it can be contrast of the background, and it can be contrast of brightness or darkness of your image. Talking about color contrast, contrasting colors are very powerful when designing thumbnails because that separates your colors. For example, if I had green and let's say lime green, those colors wouldn't be contrasting that much because they are very close to each other in the color spectrum. So what you need is to have highly contrasting colors. For example, you can have complementary colors. Complementary colors are a very good way of you using contrast with color in your thumbnails. The very classic example is teal and orange. You can have orange and blue. That is a very good example of contrast that I can give you. You can also use purple and orange. That also works out very good. You can use blue and red. I've seen Mr. Beast use that a lot in his thumbnails. Just make sure that you get colors that contrast or colors that are complementary colors. That works out at least 90% of the time. Talking about background contrast, when you have a subject in front and that's the subject you want the viewer to look at, you want to make sure that it's well separated from the background. That is also contrast. You don't want your background and your foreground element to look the same. You want that separation. So when you have a good separation of your foreground element and your background, then it increases the level of contrast. In that way, your foreground element, which is a subject of interest, is going to stand out from the background, and we, the viewers, will be able to see that particular item that you are showing us, and we'll click on that video right away. Point number 4 is about text overlays. I've seen people that crowd their thumbnails with a lot of text. That is not a good thing. Desist from that. If you're one of those guys who like adding a lot of text to your thumbnails, my friend, we are not here to read an encyclopedia or a Bible. We need something that is very simple and straightforward. Text plays a big part in clarity as well. So when you're adding your texts to your thumbnails, just make sure that you're using bold and large fonts. You don't want very tiny fonts that we as the viewers struggle to read. So make sure that the text you add is also relevant to the video. My friends, you have to be very selective with the kinds of texts that you use on your thumbnail. There is a bunch of fonts out there that you can use for your thumbnails, but personally, I recommend a font called Impact that I downloaded from, there's a website called fonts.com. You can go on there and download a bunch of fonts, but don't just use like Times Roman font or like Microsoft fonts. I mean, there's some fonts that are good there in Microsoft, but not all of them are good. If you want really very good, catchy fonts, you can head over to the internet and search for those websites. I'm going to link a few websites in this video where you can download some very nice fonts for your video. When you're using text overlays, be mindful of the amount of words that you need to include there. Usually, I recommend at least 3 to 5 as the max. When you use more than 5 words in your thumbnail, then it's going to be a little bit cluttered. You need to make it simple and precise to the point. Don't add a lot of stuff that is irrelevant. You could even just add 1 word in your thumbnail and that is good enough. You don't need to write a lot. Sometimes even just using a thumbnail with no words is even very powerful. Point number 5, is branding. Now, if you have a logo for your YouTube channel, you can add that logo in your thumbnail, but it shouldn't be large so that it covers up the overall message in the thumbnail, which is of course a point of interest as the viewers. We are more interested in the message in the thumbnail and not just the logo. The logo is a way of setting yourself apart from other YouTubers. It's a thing that identifies who you are and your brand. So if you have a logo for your YouTube channel, you can throw it there on your thumbnail and you're good to go. But that is not just the only thing about branding. It also allows your viewers or returning subscribers to quickly recognize your video when you upload it. I can easily look at a Mr. Beast video by looking at the thumbnail and I know this is Mr. Beast because he has a brand. So point number 6 is about relevance. When you're designing your thumbnails, just make sure that your thumbnail is relevant to the video content and relevant to that video title that you have on your YouTube video. For example, if I have a thumbnail that has a picture of a vehicle and my video is all about food, the two don't match. Does that make sense? So the two have to match. If my thumbnail is not relevant, it's not talking about the same thing as my video title and video content, then that is not a good thumbnail. That is more of a clickbait than a true thumbnail. It's a poor representation of what your video is. And when people click on that video and find out that what the thumbnail was saying is not the content that they actually clicked to watch, I can assure you people will just click away. And you know what that does? It affects your retention. So when you go in your YouTube analytics, you're going to realize that people watch the video, but they were dropping off right away after clicking it. You want to have the right thumbnail that matches title of the video and the video content. The next point is about facial expressions. Facial expressions play a very big role in thumbnail design. If you are making a video that talks about you, but you do not have a facial expression in there about that video, for example, if you're saying, "Oh my God, I survived being killed." I'm just thinking of a title anyways. And in that thumbnail, you are appearing as a happy person, then the facial expression there is not matching with what the video title is. So you need to have your facial expression matching your video title. If the two don't match, then it could be some sort of clickbait. Number 8 is about consistency. Now, this one is very interesting because personally, I am not very consistent with thumbnails. I like challenging myself and coming out with more creative ideas when designing thumbnails, because I am one person who doesn't like routine, like doing the same thing all over and all over again. I like testing out things. I like doing A today and then tomorrow doing B and C subsequently, like that. I don't want looking myself up in one box where I'm like, okay, this is how my thumbnails should look. I am more sporadic. I just like doing things differently. It's just me. But it could be a bad thing and it also could be a good thing at the same time. By changing your thumbnails, you could attract new viewers or new subscribers, because when your returning subscribers come to that video, they might think, oh, who's this new person? Like if the thumbnail is interesting, they might think that it is a totally new YouTuber, but when they click to only find that you are the same person. So that could be a little bit interesting for returning subscribers, but it could also be an avenue of getting new subscribers, because if you're just tied up in your same thumbnail design for a very long time, like your thumbnails are looking the same all the time, which is kind of good, it's kind of branding, but you're missing out on the potential of trying out something else. So by trying out something else, you could discover that, oh, actually when I did it differently, it worked. I got more views or I got more subscribers when I use this kind of thumbnail. And that is where the next item comes in, which is called A/B testing. Now, A/B testing is just about testing different thumbnails. So I could upload a thumbnail today, and then a few days later, I upload a different thumbnail. I've seen Mr. Beast do this. He uploads it's kind of the same thumbnail, but he changes a few things in there. Sometimes he changes the color. Sometimes he changes the whole image. Yeah, I want you guys to pay attention to Mr. Beast's thumbnails, especially when he has just uploaded a new video. What you realize is when the video has just been uploaded, it has a thumbnail. And a few days later, that video is going to have a completely different thumbnail. Now, this is what that does. For us as humans and people who like watching YouTube videos, what our eyes are drawn to first is the thumbnail. We don't even look at the title. Like if YouTube just recommended your video and just put it in someone's recommendation feed, when the person is looking at that recommendation feed, the first thing they see is the picture. So when I look at the picture, I'm not even going to bother to read the title. I'm just going to click on it. So if it is an image that I have already seen before, I will not click on it because I would assume that I already watched this video, then I'll just skip that. But if it is a new thumbnail of the same video that I had already watched, chances are that at least I will click on that video before I realize that it's the same video that I already watched. So by changing your thumbnails, you are kind of tricking your returning subscribers or your subscribers or your returning viewers to click on the same video that they have already watched. And that's kind of a cool thing. If, for example, I watched that video and didn't really watch the whole thing, and when a different thumbnail of the same video pops up, I am more likely to click on that video and watch it again before I actually realize that it is the same video. That's the beauty about changing your thumbnails every now and then. It's a good thing. So yeah, there you have it. Those are my top 9 tips about creating good thumbnails. Now, if you want to see how I create my own thumbnails, let me know in the comment section. Or if you want to see these points in real practical use in how I use these tips, let me know in the comment section and I will create a whole tutorial on how I create thumbnails for my YouTube videos. Thumbnail creation is a very fun thing. On YouTube, it's not just about the videos, it's also about the thumbnails. Otherwise, if you guys found these tips helpful, if you found value in this content, leave a comment in the comment section and I'll be happy to chat and interact with you. Thank you guys for watching, and if you haven't yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button, and lastly, don't forget to say hi to your mom. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart, and peace. I'm out of here.